conflicting reports in different media outlets about America's desire for regime change in Iran after the end of the war. First, in a statement by Trump on June 24, 2025 AD, he very clearly stated that he does not want regime change in Iran because regime change will lead to chaos. By the way, he said this more than once before. In regime change in Iran, and even after they struck Iran, they said that this is the strike and we are done. So there is no continuation of it. To overthrow the regime, the Shiite clerical regime that rules Iran, and this was also said by Netanyahu. I mean, Netanyahu also announced that he knows the whereabouts of Ali Khamenei, the Iranian leader, but they do not want to strike him. They do not want to sign the regime. This is a one-way news collection. At the same time, we heard the conversation that took place between the famous American broadcaster Tucker Carlson. I had a long conversation with Republican Senator Ted Cruz, who is the Senator of Texas and the Senator of the United States. This meeting said that America is supposed to change the regime in Iran, and the existence of a regime that hates America is doing harm to America. An example, harm the leader of Venezuela. He said that he is certain, meaning that if the leader of Venezuela loves us, the problems will be much less than that of this country. Therefore, if there is a change until then, the interlocutor Tucker will tell him, I mean, if this tweet could be military, I mean, could America contribute to military change? He said no, he does not want military change, but he prefers a popular march, a popular demonstration, an objection, or a revolution. From the people to the existing regime, it is possible for America to support this revolution in order to overthrow the regime in Iran and bring about a regime that loves America instead of hating it. Here is another piece of news in this direction. Also, during this period, we were shown news about Reza Pahlavi. Reza Pahlavi, this is the son of the former Shah, Muhammad Reza Pahlavi. I do not hear the name grandfather, and Reza Pahlavi, this is a man who lives in America and met in the past weeks, or even last week after the war, after the beginning of the Israeli-Iranian war and America's entry into the file. He met with several members of the US Congress. Dialogues took place between them, and he says that he has a desire to overthrow the regime in Iran, and he is the one who will be a candidate to rule as the former crown prince of Iran. Muhammad Reza Pahlavi, who is the former Shah of the Iranian Revolution in 1979, and he now lives in America, but he leads something called the Council. An Iranian national is friendly to an opposition group in Iran and living or having its headquarters in Paris. He has ambitions for this issue, and a number of members of Congress sat with him who support this trend and regime change in Iran in favor of Reza Pahlavi or in favor of a secular government. Of course, Reza Pahlavi is a supporter of Israel, The West in general does not have secular thought, and his father was like that. His father was also the former Shah, meaning he was a close friend of Israel. Decide on America. Okay, what is right about this? Do you really see that America will move in the direction of change, as he says, the American Senator Ted Cruz or others, or they will walk with the track of the members of Congress who sat with Reza Pahlavi and not walk in the direction of Trump, who says, no, there is no change for me to the regime or anything. A veterinarian tells me this. In fact, he really does not want to change the regime or anything. An announcement only to the public, and after that politics is moving in another direction. In fact, I see that Trump is telling the truth. Trump really does not want regime change in Iran and does not really want to create chaos in Iran. Can anyone say why? Don't you want to cause chaos in Iran? Iran is supposed to be fighting it. Iran is an enemy state, and at this stage it has no problem if chaos occurs there. We imagine that it will be an interest. That's why the news in which this topic was reported, I saw the comments on it from the public, the entire public. And what does the problem mean? You're a liar? Liar because you sure like chaos in Iran. No, he does not like chaos in Iran. chaos in various countries. Can you say something that is unknown and unthought out? He does not know the result of this chaos. Who will take care of things? Iran in particular has nuclear materials, ballistic missiles, a large country, capabilities, oil. Who will hold this entity and affect the entire Middle East region? I don't know if he does not guarantee the outcome of chaos and therefore he does not like to negotiate. If he changes a regime that changes in a certain direction, he will remain aware and studied it, etc. In the future, these countries will not leave and other people will come, less bad, better, or closer to America. But this is the random change that God knows best will lead to. I don't think this means that it runs in Trump's mind or Al's mind. The forces of the great powers, and the second need is also on the subject. If chaos occurs, there is no one to hold accountable. There is no specific person to be held accountable for this madness. If he comes out of the chaos, someone will still carry out bombings, targeting American interests. Don't they have any responsibility? Hawash will not be held accountable for it as a country. This will remain very, very dangerous. You may encounter very many problems from a large number of universities that may graduate in light of this chaos. Does this mean that Trump loves the mullahs? He loves the Iranian leader or the Iranian leadership. No, it does not mean that, and on the contrary, his direction in the first place is that he is a Republican, a strict Protestant, which means that he certainly has a lot of differences with the leader of the other, but they do not manage things with love. He has interests and he has certain ideas that make the great powers very much call people to hate her, because she has an interest in this issue, in this support we saw, for example. In history, the relatively ancient means it is considered intermediate history. We saw England and France helping the Ottoman Empire, even though they hated it very, very much. The wars between them were long, and there were very, very huge problems between them. But why do they support it? They support her because the Russians will swallow it. They support it to spite the Russians, or protect it from being dismembered at the hands of the Russians, or being swallowed up by the Russian Empire. So they actually supported it for 2 years, meaning the last 2 years of the life of the Ottoman Empire, completely dependent on the support of England and France, not on the support of its armies. Of course, this is the one who in the end dropped it, and in the end they dropped it and took it, namely England and France in particular. They divided its properties among them. But all of this is because of the issue of Russia, not because of love in the state, the Ottomans. We also saw in contemporary history America supporting the Taliban in Afghanistan and the Taliban, Islamic groups, so they supported me fighting the Russians. FFF. They supported them with money, weapons, news, intelligence, logistics, and many, many needs until they were fulfilled. The victory in Afghanistan over the Russian Empire or the Soviet Union at that time meant we have now seen America lifting the sanctions on Syria, even though the Syrian leadership originally originated from Al-Qaeda, and they were all placed on the list of terrorism for America. But the interest at that time was that it was working relations with the new regime to achieve very many goals in the region. So lifting the sanctions on Syria and removing the name from the list of terrorism, and all of you are following these events. Of course, if the head of state in Iran or elsewhere close to America, like Ted Cruz, the American senator says it will be better for America, but not always. This is available for different political circumstances, and that is why I also do not believe that America supports Ibn Shah in reaching power in Iran, because it does not know. This is a popular base that does not have a popular base that guarantees his presence, a stable in the leadership of the state, and therefore if it happens, he came to power, he collapsed the rule of the people, they did not accept it for any reason, and the chaos that will be produced will occur. Random things you didn't like before, all of this is inside the first point is that America does not like chaos in Iran or in other countries in the world. In the world in general, the second point is very important in this issue. It is an important, strong condition for Iran to be in conflict with the regimes that exist in the region, the Muslim regimes that exist in the region. For what? What are the Muslim regimes in the region and in the Arab regimes, the different Arab countries? In Turkey and Pakistan, and he wants a country that is hostile to these countries, why would he be opposed? To create balance, he does not accept a country that is expanding. He does not accept a huge Iranian entity, a huge Turkish entity, a Saudi entity, an Egyptian entity, or so on, or he does not want it. He wants this issue in which he wants balance in the region. What beings are there, they will be balanced against each other, and at the same time he wants Iran to be hated from the regime around it, because it is always present in the region like America. The country will be in a region that needs America's support against the Iranian bogeyman, which has such and such capabilities in terms of missiles, nuclear weapons, and others. And for this reason, marketing Iranian weapons in the media may be based on an American's own conviction that it is marketing. This is a country that has capable missiles, long-range missiles, and ballistic missiles. And there are huge possibilities which are enlarging and inflating this topic, or publishing this topic in order to create a state of fear in the surrounding countries, and thus become. The countries surrounding Iran are in constant need of American support. Okay, when I am a hated country, I am surrounding it, right? Owner of what? The best thing, Shiite thought. All these countries are Sunni. If you put a country with Shiite thought, it will remain hostile to them. Because all of history says so. The hostility between Sunnis and Shiites is long-term, centuries long, more than 10 centuries of conflicts, and therefore it is. He guarantees that there has been a long-standing conflict, meaning several decades, 50 years, 60 years since the State of Israel was established in 1948 in Palestine. Arab was the one that prevailed in the region, not the Islamic trend, Arab nationalism, and people were not thinking about happy Sunnis and Shiites. At that time, Israel established relations, and America as well, with non-Arab countries, which were Turkey, which were Iran, and which were Ethiopia. And they worked with partnerships with them. Why? Because these countries were hostile to the Arab countries from a national standpoint. They are ethnic Persian, ethnic Turkish, and ethnic Abyssinian. And an ethnic Arab state, there is hostility between them. When the issue of Arab nationalism withdrew and fled the period of Gamal Abdel Nasser, Boumediene Arafat, and other Arab nationalist trends, this is why it no longer has a large presence in the region, especially the Islamic awakening in the 70s. And it slightly changed the ideology that exists among the people. It became necessary for what exists now to be contrary. Why does it not contradict them with race? It will not work now. The issue of Shiites and Sunnis remains useful, and therefore he likes to have this system. In Iran, even though he has nothing to do with religion or does not like it, Islamic regimes in general, the last need is that, the truth is that when Americans studied history as well, they saw that we talk about it a lot. The Shiite military doctrine remains very weak. When they fight non-Muslims, why don't they fight Israel, nor America, nor Russia, nor what? If you return to Portugal, you will find things very, very calm, all of them. The war has stopped and they do not have the patience in wars with non-Muslims, but their military wars with Muslims are very severe with Muslims. The Sunnis are very severe, they can last for years, decades and centuries. The wars of the Safavid state with the Ottoman Empire for almost 2 centuries, they have been fighting after they have no walk. This means any kind of complacency in this war, for those who have this, is a war of doctrine. For them, this is an issue. For them, America has such a regime that is a guarantee that it will exist between it and the surrounding Sunni countries. Tensions are something very useful for him. After all this, we say that regime change in Iran is actually not an American or Israeli desire, but it was necessary to trim the nails because Iran began to grow and its ambitions began to increase, and the Shiite crescent worked and entered Iraq, then Syria, then Lebanon. It did this thing now, and Yemen entered it. So what remains is necessary to trim the nails while throwing force terrorism area. This war is in this way so that domesticated Iran does not get out of control, and we ask God Almighty to see us with the truth. May God reward you well, and may God's peace, mercy and blessings be upon you.